these are 5 things. I sat down and I was, I've first started shooting. I think I did my first shoot in 2011 or maybe early 2012. So it's been a little too long. And so I was thinking back to like my business and then the thousands of people we've got to work with and kind of go through our process. We were fine and we learned how to teach. But quick side note, Leon, you got to do the Instagram method. And Darlene, I understand that so deeply, by the way, because it feels like it's like a weird, boring, repetitive, but I know you're not saying it for this reason, but it works so well. So anyway, back to what I was saying. And these are like the 5 things I think, and they kind of echo what some of the people said, but Kenny, if you have any thoughts on any of these specifically, jump in. And we'll go through this for about, 25 minutes or so. And then Rod will jump in here. We'll do some general Q&A. A lot of these are also based upon mistakes I made, which is, my favorite way to teach, because it's kind of like me getting to go back and slap myself and help people avoid the mistakes I did. So I was a very big, I don't need goals. I'm just going to go to work and I'm just going to see what happens. And that works. It just doesn't work super well. And so I'm not a guy who has like, I don't have written down goals on a sticky note here, but I know what I want to achieve this year in the business. And I say it a lot. I talk to our team. We have our goals of what we want to achieve in the business. And so the first thing I would say to write down, step number 1 is I want you to leave. And it doesn't have to be, right now, but I'd love for you to leave today with, maybe have some thought to your time for yourself after, but leave today with a goal for 2025, a written goal. And I would just encourage it to be a revenue goal for your business at a bare minimum. You can create goals for profit. You can create goals for a million different things. I have a video on that on my YouTube. You can watch it, but at least have one goal for 2025. And it could be, I want to quit my job by the end of 2025. It could be, I want to take some trip. I want to buy something. I want to hit a 10K month. I want to add 100K to my existing business, hire my first photographer, like whatever it is. I want you to think really what one goal would significantly change your life for the better, and then write that down. And let's say, if you pick a revenue goal, it's a little more straightforward, but let's say you pick quit your job. I want you to do more than that. I want you to think about the goal and break down it. And really think about what steps would be involved. Like if you want to quit your job, you need to know how much money you need to make to quit your job, stuff like that. There's a quote, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but it sounds like a quote that a lot of people would say: if you aim at nothing, you'll hit every time. And I think for me, I aimed at nothing a lot and I hit every time because of that. And it's, my businesses have grown now. We built a great team. We have, great, but still a very small business in the scheme of things. But man, if you would have seen me the first 5 years, you would have thought I was a dunce. I mean, honestly, it took everybody here today grew faster than me. Every single person here today that spoke grew faster than me. Right. And so I try to reverse engineer like what I did wrong. And one of the things was I was aiming at nothing. And I, didn't know what was available. So step 1, set a goal. Yeah, go for it, Kenny.
Yeah, I was going to mention on top of you writing down whatever goal you're going to write, I would encourage to also share it to somebody who you trust. Eli mentioned that he shares with the team. I know some of the business goals that he has. He knows some of my business goals that I have as well. And I think it allows you for them to hold you accountable, but for yourself to just have that little bit of pressure of like, I told somebody I'm going to do this, so now I have to do it. And I think it would just be a fun way for you to actually, be able to take those steps to actually do it. So I would highly encourage you to tell someone at least.
That is like such good advice. The only thing I want to add is just don't tell somebody who's a naysayer.
Yes,
tell someone who's going to be like, that's it, in a good way and call you up, not out. But I love that. That's because it's so easy to change if you've told somebody, it's like external accountability.
Yes.
That's one of the first things we do in launch coaching is we have a goals board where people write down their goals and it helps them break it down by how many shoots they'd have to do and their average order value. And I'm just big on getting it out there and, it's stated.
It's a good reminder too. Like, you'll ask me, it's like, how's that goal going? Like, what are you doing towards that? Or like, are you working towards it? So you telling somebody who's going to help you with it is like, hey, Eli, how's that goal going for you? And it's going to remind you, it's like, oh shoot, yeah, I'm a little behind, I should probably.
Well, and it gives them the chance, like, so Kenny and I are partners in REPP video editing. And I have a goal for REPP video editing that I think it kind of go, huh? At the start, but it's like, that's where the other thing is when you talk about it, you have these ideas and it kind of like gets everybody in the right direction, which is super cool. And vice versa. So yeah, that's really good. Yeah, this is a good thought from Jeff. You don't want to go around talking about the goal and never work on it. So, okay, step number 1, set a goal you want to accomplish for this year and break it down. Number 2 is, and this sounds silly, but I'm going to break it down, is commit to the goal. And what I mean by that is kind of what we already talked about. You got to tell somebody, but commitment requires action. And so the way I think about this is once you've kind of broken down the goal, like let's say you want to quit your job or you want to make 10K a month. I'll use 10K as an example, which I think is, as Jeremy said, he said 15 when I asked him, and I didn't say anything. He just said 15. I think that's a great year one goal, a good push goal, but not, not even close to impossible.
He even said it's minimum, like
minimum. Yeah.
Very doable goal. Yeah.
Sounds ridiculous, but people in the industry know that that's something you can do. So when it comes to committing to the goal, what I mean by that is I want you to put stuff on your calendar that would allow you to sort of reverse engineer and achieve that goal. So I said break it down in the last point. In this point, commit to it. It's actually get it on your calendar. So if you need to make 10K a month by the end of the year, you know what you're going to need to make by then. So you can kind of break down, hey, here's how many messages I need to send. Here's action steps I need to take. I don't want you just talking about, hey, this is the goal. I want you to have on your calendar something tomorrow that gets you a step further towards that and something the day after that gets you a step further. Now, you're not going to be able to perfectly pre-plan your entire year, and don't do that. That gets you further from the goal. But you need to have stuff on your calendar where you're making progress in your business. Even if it's a little, if you use Google Calendar, the tasks are blue, right? Even if it's a little blue task that said, did I do anything to move my business forward today? And you can't go to sleep until that blue thing is marked complete, right? Whatever system you need to get in place. So when I say commit to the goal, what I mean by commitment is you've put stuff out there that is going to get done in a non-negotiable way. And I think tactically, the best way to do that, if you don't use a calendar, first of all, get with the program. You can't run a life without a calendar.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
He said, but put something on that calendar. Don't let the goal be just, something in the sky. Put things on your schedule. And the next thing I would do is I would set kind of intermediate deadlines. So let's say going back to the 10K goal, you want to make 10K in the last month of the year. Well, it'd probably be a good idea to set like a $2,500 a month goal halfway through the year, if not sooner, maybe a quarter into the year, and then 5K another quarter in. And like, you can kind of know if you're on track. You don't want to get to November and be like, am I going to make it? And have done zero in revenue. No, you're not going to make it. Right. And you should have known sooner, but like putting things, hey, am I on target is a really good idea. Any thoughts on the commit to the goal side of things, Kenny?
Oh, I was going to touch on, I think Jeffrey and Deanna touched on this, but like one of the things that kept their energy high was just like seeing the milestones. Oh yeah, they did touch on like they would get a goal. They would hit it and they're like, Deanna would be like, yes, 100% we can hit the next one then. And so exactly what you're saying is if you want to make $10,000 by the end of the year, you got to make $2,500 at some point. So you got to like make a deadline. Maybe by March you're hitting that already. But once you hit that, it's going to allow you to start believing more in yourself. Not that don't now, but like there's that uncertainty of like, am I actually going to be able to do it? Because 10K seems like a ton for some people, and then you reach 2,500, you're like, oh, it seems doable now. Then you reach 4,500, just like, oh my gosh, I'm getting closer and closer. And so just getting milestones in place is going to allow you to be more excited about the industry and like more excited about what you're doing and the goal that you have and make it more meaningful is my thought.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to have those wins in the meantime, because before you get to 10K, it's not nothing until 10K. There's a bunch of intermediate wins, and those like little daily wins and bigger weekly and bigger monthly wins, those are what they help you keep pushing basically. And they give you like a little boost of motivation, which I think is pretty important. Now they're on the contrary, you also need them to balance out the bunch of nonsense you have to deal with. You're going to message clients that are never going to respond. More clients are not going to respond than respond, right? By a factor of probably 10. You're going to mess up stuff at shoots. You're going to have clients be mad. And you're going to deserve it sometimes. You're not going to deserve it other times, but it's going to happen both ways nonetheless. And a lot of stuff's going to happen. So you kind of need the wins to balance that out. But a lot of stuff's going to happen anyway. And so it's like, what's the downside? I'm not saying there's no downside to having a business. I'm just saying there's downsides to everything. There's downsides to not having a business.
There's going to be sacrifices. I mean, like if you want to talk a little bit about the downsides, like you're going to have to, there's always going to be a sacrifice to whatever you're doing. So like if your goal is truly to get to $10,000 a month by the end of the year, or whatever it is actually, like there's going to be some things that you're just going to not have to do. Like instead of watching Netflix by the end, by 5 p.m., you're going to be sending out DMs because that's the only time that you have, after your job or whatever that may be. So there's always going to be something that you're just going to have to prioritize. Hence why we always say like use a calendar because it's game changer, honestly. But there's going to be sacrifices that you're going to have to make, but just keeping in mind of the end goal, like what is that goal that I'm going to reach by whatever date.
So what do those sacrifices look like for you? I mean, Kenny and I, for everybody's context, Kenny and I partnered and Kenny built REPP Video Editing. It's a great business, started with 0 clients, now has a great team. And back in the day, hit him with, I mean, everybody who's built something has paid the price. What was that price? Yeah. I'm sure there's more things than what
I mean, where do I start? I mean, it was like,
how about you start specifically with the extended stay? Because I think that will resonate with people.
Okay, so Eli was like, we're moving to Miami, and I was like, sure, I'll go in as well. I'll go to Miami, whatnot. Got an apartment, like I got an apartment, and it wasn't built at the time that it was going to be said that it was going to be finished and all that. And so my wife and I had to stay at an extended stay, and it was just like the worst experience possible. I was still editing videos, and
well, keep in mind this too. Kenny didn't have a salary. He was building the business, and the extended stay was bad enough. Kenny's a clean man. He likes to have his clean stuff. The extended stay was not very clean. But what were you doing while you were in that extended stay?
Working.
All night.
Literally
all night.
I would literally have a schedule with my wife. It was like, okay, during the daytime, it was rep stuff. During the evening, it was rep editing. And so during the day stuff, I was working, trying to build a rep business and all that with Eli and the team. And then I'd have we'd end at 5. And then from 5 to 7, that was like my only break that I could be with my family, basically. And just like, okay, let's go out. I need to get out of the room, a tiny extended stay room. Let's go out to do something. And then by 7, I already knew that there were videos coming in. So I had to start the grind. It was like, okay, time to edit. Put headphones on, continue doing that all the way till like 3 a.m. Then I go to bed. Then I'd have to wake up at 6 a.m. because I knew that it was important for the clients to have their videos done like super early. And I wanted to make that a priority as well. I knew that was going to build a business. And so, yeah, 6 a.m. waking up, handling revisions. I mean, there was a time that I did, I think 42 videos myself in one night. And it was like, oh, it was intense. I think I was texting. Yeah, he was sleeping, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
He would be like crying, pissed off, like he was going through the process, and it wasn't for an eternity. But I think the reason I brought
it felt like it. It felt like it, and that's the thing. I mean, I laugh about it now. I think I'm super proud of what I mean, like I haven't edited a video in a while. I have a full-on team. I think we have 14 people right there working. Right now, I mean, like I'm not doing any, like I don't even handle the stuff. Like I have 3 VAs that handle the business in a way. So it's just, I don't know, like there's so many things.
I brought that up is because everybody has their time. Yeah, I was sleeping like a baby, Wes, by the way. And I wake up and I would laugh. I would literally laugh at Kenny on purpose because I knew it made him angry and I knew he was doing what you have to do to build a business. And I brought that up just because I think it's important to know that nobody who's built anything, big or small, even you don't have to have a huge team, right? Just even getting to a solo operator involves sacrifice, and maybe it doesn't involve that, right? I think that was probably
my sacrifices were like sleeping, less time with family, less time doing the fun stuff. No weekends because like I was still doing the same thing Saturday and Sunday. Like, yeah, there was no reps. So yes, I did finally have not even a morning because I had to wake up at 6 a.m. or earlier than that to make sure I could deliver the videos, the revisions. There were times that we were going somewhere and we had to stop. I had to bring my laptop everywhere because I was like, oh, there's a revision. I have to take care of it immediately. Or we have to go back home because now we need Wi-Fi for this. Like the video's huge and I have to upload. Like so many things that I had to go through. But I mean, you just have to do it. So
everybody has those. So set a goal, write it down, tell somebody. Number 2 is commit to the goal by putting it on your calendar and putting action items in place. Number 3, this is a dangerous one. And the number is watch for buffering and make sure you focus on core things. So what buffering is, if you think about, you're trying to watch a video and it buffers for a while, it's not letting you get from where you are to where you want to be because of something in the middle that happened. And so buffering looks like this. Oh, I'm not ready to start Instagram. I need to learn how to shoot real estate first. That's buffering, right?
Build a website.
Yeah, I need to build a website. I need to make business cards. And there's small things like that. And there's big things like, oh, I just need to save up a little more money. Sure, that's good. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying watch for buffering. So step number 3 is watch for buffering. It's going to happen. It's just how much it happens and how off track it gets you. And the quote I have written here is, don't confuse motion with progress. A rocking horse keeps moving, but it doesn't make any progress. So think of yourself when you're buffering, like you're sitting on a Peloton. The faster you go, you still don't move forward, right? And maybe, that's a bad example because you burn calories and maybe that's the goal, but like you're not moving forward. And so a lot of people get real busy with stuff that doesn't matter. And it's the motion, the fake motion is on things that help you feel more prepared, but they aren't helpful. And your body's doing that because it's fear, right? It's fear. So it's fear making you go, oh, I need to be more ready. Oh, I need to do 10 practice shoots. Yeah, getting ready to get. Jeff, you said that. You said that before I said that, which is crazy because that was my next line. But in what Art said, getting ready to get ready. So I put that in, and I'm saying the main ones because I want you to write those down and just think about them, especially you set your goal. Like really watch for buffering. It is deadly in business in general, but when you're starting your business, especially like any stage, getting the next level, buffering is so bad, and it will happen to everybody. Don't be sorry, Jeff. That's awesome. Okay. Number 4 is, and I tried to ask questions about this as many times as I could because I don't want it just to be like, oh, it was awesome. They joined and they, and they had all these crazy results and like, it was so easy. Like it's not easy. And so number 4 is know that you will get discouraged, and that's part of the process. It's not just you. Everybody has, and I always try to bring this up because I don't like that when it's just like, it's going to be awesome, right? It's going to be awesome, but it's going to be also awesomely hard at times. And so know that when you run into an issue, it's not just you. Everybody goes through that. And running into issues is you advancing. That is what advancing looks like, because someone who has never had any issues has never advanced.
Jeff said it too. You're not special in the most nicest way. And it's just like, there were some times during the business, even after like I was completely scaled out of the business and all that, that I thought I was special, and we would go through something and I'd call you. I was like, dude, we're going through this. This is like, I don't know what to do. He's like, oh, I went through that. And you'd laugh about it. And I was like, you did? And he's like, yeah, it's just part of the game, honestly. Like whatever you're going through is what you need to go through in order to get to the goal that you want to get to.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so know that you will get discouraged. The quote I have for this one is, success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. Right. And so we talked about that early on with Adam and Angie, where it was, it wasn't 200 DMs a day, it was 20, but they just stuck with it. They just did that. And they sent, a horrendous number of DMs after doing that consistently, which is great. It's like, if you want to achieve something big, you start by, if you want to move a mountain, you move the first stone or whatever that quote is first, right? You pick that up and you just start on it. And so just know that you will get discouraged. So that's number 4. Here's the other thing. It's also going to be boring, and like people aren't ready for that. They're like ready for the adversity, but sometimes the adversity is just that it's mind-numbingly boring. Like when you're doing the Instagram method, right? I mean, it's not, nobody's like, I think I said this earlier, but you don't like, yeah, another day I get to do the Instagram method. Unless something's wrong with you, like it's just not an exciting thing. Maybe the first day it's exciting because you're like, it's fishing, you feel like you're fishing, but like after a while, it starts to get a little monotonous, and that's okay. That's normal. Here's the other truth. Something is going to happen in your life, non-business related, that's distracting. I've never seen anybody go through launch, 6-month period or anything where it's not something happening. And so, sometimes you have to be prepared to take a step back for a little bit, and that's okay. But you also have to be ready to not let things get in your way. Things are going to happen along the way. They're smaller too. A client's going to tell you they don't like the photos. They're going to tell you their old photographer was better, and your fears of competition are going to, like, lots of stuff's going to happen. And that's okay, because that's normal. And then number 5 is be a sponge and learn from those who have built and know the things you want to know. This sounds like the start of a coaching pitch, not the way I'm taking it. Despite me trying to tell people not to talk about coaching and plug it, they did, which I'm appreciative of. But that's not the thing here. I think, a pretty strong pivot point in my business so far was about 5 years in, when I stopped being, ignorance, right? Where I stopped being ignorant in my unwillingness to learn from others. So what I have written now is be a sponge and learn from those who have built, know the things you want to know. Obviously, the quote is, a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. I still make my own mistakes way too much, but I always made my own mistakes when I was first starting. And so it's kind of like the definition of foolishness, if you think about it. Here are the things that I believe that messed me up. And some of these you might not have as much as I did, but I was unwilling to learn from a lot of business people, or I didn't prioritize making it happen because I thought that there was photo businesses and every other business on planet Earth, and somehow photo businesses were different. The real answer is there's no difference. Photo business is just a business. It's like any other. And so I was like, oh, I can only learn from people who have photo businesses. And especially at the time, there wasn't a lot of people teaching. Now there's a lot more resource out there that's good business advice for photographers, which is awesome. But man, I missed out on like learning from so many awesome people because I was like, oh yeah, that's great. They built that. But like, what does a plumbing business have anything to do with this? And the first piece of advice that really, and I don't know who it was, and it drives me crazy. I know what he looks like. He built a really successful flooring company. Like he was doing 50 million a year at that point or something in after cost of goods sold. So he wasn't selling $50 million worth of flooring. It was like the money to run his business was 50 million and profit was probably, 10, 15 million a year, a lot of money. And someone asked him what the secret was. And he was like, I just always pick up the phone. And I was like, well, that's a really good secret. Like it sounds stupid, but it's like, that was literally that YouTube video changed my perspective on learning from other people. And so that was the point here. I want you to, Jeff, you can tell has learned a lot and he's grown a great business and he still has a lot to grow, 5K a month average. I think he's done an 8K month once. But he's not that far into the business. And so he has a big advantage of he like soaks up knowledge. He's built a really good foundation. He'll avoid a lot of traps as he grows. So don't be like the old me. Don't make every mistake yourself. There's so many people that have gone before you, whether they just, have a wrench and are a plumber or, they built some other business. There's always stuff you can learn from other people. And so make a point this year to soak that in.
Anyone, honestly, like recently we've learned we were just thinking we need to learn from people who we may not even agree with, or, be willing to just learn from anyone that has something, like they're doing something right. And that's how you found them. So just be willing to do that.
Yeah. And you have to look, the opportunities aren't going to come to you, right? Sometimes they will, but a lot of times you have to go find them. So like, here's an example of some things that I do. Obviously I have a coaching business. And so I believe in coaching, but I'm also, I spend a lot of money on coaching. It was like over $100,000 last year on coaching different stuff, stuff I need to learn, stuff that our team needed to learn. And, sometimes it was great. Sometimes it wasn't as great, but I still always got the value that I came for, because that's one of the things I do when I learn is like, I'm getting the value one way or another. I'm learning something that's making it worth it. And so, there's coaching, but there's other stuff too. So like, I'm a big fan of this, especially as your business grows. For example, tomorrow there's a guy I like. You can just ask people if you can pay them to have a few minutes of their time or something. This guy, I know, he's sold his business for 111 million, I think, in a couple of years back. And, he got this new plane and he flies around. And I was like, anytime you want me on the plane, I'll throw 10K just to be able to bother you. And so he messaged me a couple of days ago. He was like, hey, I'm going to Boston. And I was like, so I had to send him 10K, right? But it's 3 hours of time with someone I can learn a lot from. It may not be at that expensive level, but like, for 3 hours at least. But looking for those opportunities is great. But here's the best thing. There is so much free stuff on the internet too. Maybe it's not custom to you, but there's so much free stuff. There's so many books. Like you can learn the things you want to learn. It's not the problem today. So anyway, those are our thoughts.